So, Inga, thank you so much for joining me in the comfy chairs. I'd like to have a moment for you to introduce yourself, please.
Okay, so my name is Inga. I go by Ingafay. I am an authenticity strategist. And I'm sure some of you that are listening, it was like, that sounds cool, but what does that mean? So I basically work with women. I'm all about empowering women to be the best version of themselves. And I have two groups of women that I serve. First and foremost, I serve female entrepreneurs with introverted tendencies, often in the coaching and consultant space. And I am just all about really just serving them and helping to empower them so they can use their innate gifts as an introvert in an extroverted world. And we'll get into that a little bit later, what that means. In addition to that group of women, I also serve professional women, and I'm just really all about helping them feel comfortable in their own skin. And why, you might ask? Because when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you do more. So I really want to help them use their God-given attributes to do what they want to do in this world. I come from a very male-dominated business,
Yeah.
yes, background in mechanical engineering. So I was always one of the only, pretty much most of the time, the only woman in the group. So I
Yeah.
know how that feels. I know how when you have all of that male energy around you, you feel like you have to kind of act like them. And I found myself doing that at times that I really didn't like that. So I'm all about really helping women feel good about who they are, about their gender and what they represent, because we have a whole different mindset on the way we think about things. And I want them to feel confident being able to serve that aspect of themselves and don't feel like they have to act like a man especially if they're in a male dominated type of feel like I was. I want them to really be true to themselves and be able to share their expertise and knowledge and not feel like they have to sit back and let the guys do all the things. Because, you got all this testosterone going around and
Yes.
competing, and they're like, oh, I want to be seen. And you feel like you have to do that too. Yeah, yeah.
It's
So,
an interesting dynamic. Yes.
yes, very much so. Very much so. So
Yeah.
that's why I like to hang out with my girlies.
Yeah. Well, and it's wonderful because you're focusing on authenticity. It's, women and even men on the other side of the equation, it doesn't have to be this cookie cutter girliness, right?
Exactly.
It's
Exactly.
what does it look like for you
Right.
as somebody that identifies as a woman to be your authentic self.
Yep.
And if that means that you go, full out on the full face of makeup and
Right.
the 5-inch heels, rock on. And if
Yep.
it looks slightly different for you, how are you embracing those aspects of your
Totally.
womanhood or femininity or fill in the
Yes.
blank?
Totally, totally, totally. Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
I absolutely love the title authenticity strategist. In fact, I'm wildly jealous that I didn't come up with it first. Um, One of the reasons I love it is because I like plans, and a strategy is a plan.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I'm really curious in your work, what steps do you typically include in the plan to become authentic? What does that look like? Where do you think we need to start?
Well, I think initially, coming from an introverted point of view, I think about, well, really, I'll say five P's. I'll say five P's. And the first P I'm going to say is prepare. You want to have some quiet time. And I guess I
Mhm.
didn't realize how powerful this quiet time was until about a couple of weeks ago. I'm in this mastermind with some other ladies, and we were just talking about having some think time. Do you schedule think time every day? And I was just like, man, I don't like make it an appointment. I mean, I do it naturally, but I didn't like say, okay, well, from 10:30 to 11, I'm going to be just thinking. And I was just like, wow, how powerful would that be? So when I got off the call, I'm one of those people that when I get a nugget like that, I
Yeah,
gotta immediately act.
go do
Now,
it.
back in the day, I didn't do that, but now I've gotten to the point now that's just like, oh, that was juicy. I gotta really implement that. So that day, I sat down and I just thought for 30 minutes. I just sat there and just kind of thought and wrote stuff down. And it was amazing to me what I came up with on my own, by myself, because I don't know, for whatever reason, I guess it's because from education, you're kind of trained that you need to get somebody else's opinion, and you need to talk over things with people and, kind of determine if you're going the right way. But from that just 30 minutes of just pure, just thinking on my own, as my father would say, I was dazed, glazed, and amazed of all the things that I came up with in that 30 minutes that nobody told me to do. It was just Inga and the Holy Spirit. And it was just like, Inga, that still small voice was saying, you need to do this, this, and this. And I sat there in amazement. Wow, really? That's what I need to do? Okay. So then it became one of those things that I need to do this like every day. It's because I'm coming up with these ideas that for whatever reason, I thought I had to get from somebody else that are truly within me. You know that saying where they say everything that you need, you already have? I'm sure everybody's heard that. And I've heard that too. And it's kind of completely gone over my head. It just really just made me think, wow, Inga, you don't need somebody to affirm what you're doing. You just need to do it. So that's been like the biggest nugget for me, that to prepare. Then the second P would be to just be present. And I noticed that oftentimes I can be sitting in the meeting and I know I'm thinking about stuff as people are talking. And I know some people may take it as, oh, well, she doesn't even look like she's listening to what I have to say, or she's just seems unenthused. No, I'm actually pondering over what you're talking about, to the point that I'm taking notes down to really make sure that I'm truly present. Exactly, just like you're doing, truly present on what's going on and the talk that's being done. So I realized that it's very important to be in that moment, because it's so easily to be thinking about something else that's going on that you're not present in that moment. So we got the prepare, we got the present. Then we got the next P, which I call push. And I love push. And I was in a networking event yesterday where one of the ladies, she has very small arms to a point that everything she does, she has to do with her feet. Now, she was talking about driving. Can you imagine driving with your feet? But she does it because she doesn't have arms. She doesn't have hands. So if she doesn't do it with her feet, she wouldn't do it. Okay. And she came up with this acronym for PUSH, and it stood for push until success happens, is what it is. And I just thought that was so phenomenal, because so many times we want to achieve a goal, but we just want to achieve the goal where we are now. But in actuality, we have to grow into the goal, because if we had already grown to the point that we needed to achieve the goal would have already been achieved. So it's so important, like Jim Rohn has said, I don't achieve my goals, I grow into them. So it's so important for us to step out of our comfort zone, to do those things that we normally don't do, to be that better version of ourselves. And as a result of that, are able to do something that we've never been able to do before because we did that. And then the fourth thing is to practice, because you gotta practice to improve. And that's really my practice, to have progress. So you want to practice for progress, so you can be able to be your authentic self, because that's where the confidence comes into. You have prepared, you have been present with the people that you're working with, or your team, or whatever is going on, or really just being present with yourself. These are the things that I've been doing that haven't been working. And for whatever reason, I have thought that through osmosis, or just because I want it to happen, that it's gonna change. When in actuality it's me that's gotta change, so I can grow into that person that achieves whatever I'm trying to achieve. And then I gotta keep practicing, and as a result of the practicing, I'm gonna have that progress. It's gonna help me level up. That's where it comes into. So I just think about the times in my life. One of the biggest things that I can think about is I was in grad school, and my brother had been doing all of these bodybuilding competitions. So I was thinking, well, man, that sounds something like cool to do. I don't know if I could do it, but maybe I should just try. So I decided I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna attempt to do this. So I get me a personal trainer. We're working out. We started doing this in August. I think the competition was like in February. So we're doing all of this workout and all of this. And I had to change my eating habits. I had
Yeah.
to work out twice a day. I had to lift weights twice a day. I mean, it was crazy. All this, basically a complete life change. No sweets. I had one junk meal a week. And it was like, I would just be thinking about all the things that I could eat. And then it was like the TV was talking to me. They would have all this pizza and hamburger and all this stuff. And I couldn't have any of it until Saturday.
Lived
That
for
was my day.
Saturdays.
But it was only that one meal. And through that trial and tribulation, I just couldn't get over all of the work that I had to do to put in to actually reach that result. And to be 6 months of hell, but I did it. I mean, I made it happen. I worked, I did the due diligence to really work through and make it happen and get out, y'all. I won. I was so ecstatic that I had won this competition. And I think about all of the hard work, all of the running in the snow. I remember actually running in the snow one morning and thinking, dang, Inga, you would have never done this before. You're actually running in the snow. This is like really, this is not something you would normally do. You are really all in for this. And to be able to really see having that all in type of attitude manifested into me winning this trophy that I still have to this day. That is, I mean, I look at that trophy and it's just like, that's when it clicked for me. Mm-hmm. That you got to put it all in to really make it happen.
Being all in. And when we have big goals, it's pretty amazing what we can accomplish.
Oh, yes, for sure.
I want to go back to something that you said at the start of your 5 Ps, the time to think, that scheduled time to think. Mm-hmm. It can be so yummy, right?
Yes.
Like, it's very filling. I hope that you're still doing that regularly.
Oh yeah, I am, because I'm thinking it's just been mind-boggling since then, for sure.
Yeah. The other thing I absolutely love, and this is definitely kind of like on brand for you in terms of authenticity, that you're still learning. Yes. That it's, hey, this is something I didn't know about. I'm trying it, I'm testing it, I'm seeing benefits. I'm going to keep doing it. That you're not being authentic, being confident doesn't mean that you don't change.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's such a wonderful little lesson in there for us. And the grow into the goal is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think that the very first starting point when it comes to the very first starting point for us is it's self-knowledge, right? You have to know who and what you are. And introversion and extroversion are such a great place to start because those preferences or tendencies inform so much of how we behave and interact with the world. You've told us that you focus on women with introverted tendencies. I'm an introverted woman myself. So I'm very curious, super curious about how you coach, how you guide, start the conversation about confidence with people who are typically not comfortable or excited, if you will, to speak up. And you've walked us, I'm guessing it's going to look a lot like the prepare and
I think, and it does. It does look like that. But I guess in this sense, when it comes to my coaching, instead of having the 5 Ps, I have the A game is what I call it.
Okay.
And the first thing in my A game is that you want to ask and not assume. Because I think people have preconceived notions about people based on past history. Maybe somebody told them something or whatever. But to me, you don't really understand until you ask. Because at the end of the day, all of us want to be seen, we want to be heard, and we want to be understood. And what better way to really let somebody know that they matter is just by talking to them and asking them questions. And then a natural trait of an introvert is to empathize with whatever they're telling us about what's going on with them or why they do something a certain way. So then once we're able to do that, to really ask the question and not assume that they're doing it in a certain way, then we're able to assist instead of annoy, right? Because we've asked them the question. We can even ponder over, even if it came to a point where we had to send them an email, because oftentimes our happy place for an introvert is in a writing type of format. So if the person didn't want to, I know you said speak up. So when I think of speaking up, I visualize somebody I'm talking to, probably screen to screen or in person, face to face kind of thing. But maybe that's not their mode of communication. Being open enough to be able to give them the questions ahead of time, because as introverts, we're deep thinkers. We need time to ponder over what we're going to talk about or what's going on with us. Give them that think time. Don't immediately put them in an extroverted type of setting where you just want them to rattle off for what first comes to mind. Give them their time to ponder and think. And that was one of the things that I loved about what you did, Kate. I've never had somebody to okay, this is what we're going to talk about. I mean, I kind of pondered it in my head, but you actually literally, as an introvert needs to do, gave me my think time to really be able to be like, okay, well, she said we're going to talk about this. So what would I say when we talk about that? So it was a total different preparation for me just in interacting with you for this podcast. And when it comes to dealing with introverts, we have to give them that time to be able to do that too. So then from a business point of view, because I work with entrepreneurs, because we've asked ourselves or we've asked other people, we then come from a point of service more so than annoyance. And then we're truly able to attract more so than attack. And often, everybody lives in this world where we're getting tons of DMs with somebody trying to sell us something. They know nothing about us, okay? They're assuming that they know what we have based on what a profile or something. And they may not even have looked at our profile. I mean, because these days people are just, throwing spaghetti on the wall and just talking to folks. It's somebody that halfway looks like they would want what they have.
Exactly.
And as a result of that, they make that assumption, they become annoying, and they're attacking us. And that's not on the side of the spectrum that you want to be on. You want to be on the asking side of the system so you can actually assist them and then attract them to you based on the solutions that you provide. So that's how I teach my clients to do their business. And then when it comes to me helping my clients, I do the same thing, because I'm definitely going to lead by example.
One of the things I like about your A game is it's not just a model for the introvert, where it's lean into the fact that you may not want to do all the talking, so ask questions, get the other person going. So you can understand. Assisting versus annoying is more of that support and service. And that you're not attacking, that you don't have to be big and bold and unnatural to yourself. It's also a great model of how do I work with an introvert too. Ask and don't assume. Just because you're quiet doesn't mean that you don't have a thought to it. How can I help? What does assistance look like for an introvert versus an extrovert? And how do I invite you rather than demand?
Exactly.
Because introverts are so good at shutting down. I wanted to kind of come back to that idea of empathizing. You talked about how it can be something that's really natural for introverts. And that had a little ping. Because empathy, definitely something I want us to talk about. I want us to be able to bridge over into emotional intelligence in this conversation, because authenticity, confidence, emotional intelligence have connections to them. But empathy is really the cornerstone of emotional intelligence. And I personally believe that it is a function of imagination, that being able to imagine what things are like for others, that's empathy. And that in turn is a reflection of that inner life of the individual. So that inner thought life that introverts have. And this is not to say that extroverts don't have that capability. It's just, is there a natural tendency toward that inner thought? And the podcast that came out just before this, earlier this week, was about workplace spirituality. That episode was, and we talked about inner life as well. So I'm all like, it all connects. I'm very excited. And even that, like, workplace spirituality or making meaningful work is about allowing people to bring their whole selves.
Right.
And acknowledging that employees have an inner life that has no connection to the job in some cases. So your work is in many ways about how are we finding meaning for people.
Right.
Which I think is one of the things that we desperately need in today's work world. Yeah, I do want to go ahead and move into that emotional intelligence, because we're talking about awareness and authenticity. Those are cornerstone principles for emotional intelligence. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic. You work in this space. There is opinion and research that shows us that authenticity, EQ, emotional intelligence, mindfulness, those are all like kind of interrelated. As somebody doing that work, how do you see it play out?
I think people think confidence is something that you have to have when you first start out, but I view confidence, or really courage, as a muscle that you build over time. So when it comes to being confident in who you are, what you're good at, really having a growth mindset that you may not be able to do it today, but you're willing to put it in the work to figure it out so you can do it at a later time. And the mindfulness of just being aware of where you are right now and where your desired result is very important. Because when it comes to confidence, and I think that's why it's so important for when I learn something that I act, is because I know that that's the first step of confidence. I gotta act. I can't sit on my hands. I can't pray that it's gonna happen. I have to take some kind of action for the transformation to even start. In that action that I take, being full aware, mindfulness, having the mindfulness that I'm gonna suck, and I'm probably gonna suck for a while.
So much sucking, yes.
Yeah. And it's totally okay that I'm gonna suck, because in the midst of my sucking, I'm gonna eventually totally figure it out on the other side. And the great thing about that, when I figure it out, I'm then gonna be able to have those results that I want, that one, I would be able to share with others so they don't have to suck as long as I suck, right? And that in the result that I ultimately get, I really didn't learn anything when I got the result. It was the journey way before the result that helped me figure out how to get the result. So failing is all a part of that. Suck period is totally all a part of the journey. And I know when I was younger, I didn't want to fail. I never wanted to fail. It was just failing seemed like something that was just totally the worst thing in the world that you could do. But in actuality, I want to help people fail as fast as they can, because the faster they fail, the quicker they can get to that result. And having that mindfulness and that awareness that, hey, I'm gonna suck, and I know I'm gonna suck. I don't know how long I'm gonna suck. And maybe I can find somebody that will help me not suck as long so I can lessen this learning curve. But I'm gonna suck and be okay with the suck, because on the other side of it, you're going to be successful. You're going to get those results. And that's where the confidence comes in.
I love this. The lesson is the journey. It's not the loss or the win.
No, it's not. It's not. Because we gain nothing when we actually are successful. Nothing but the next thing to say, oh, okay, I guess I got to find something else to do. Or it's like an ego thing. It's like the muscle has been atrophied. Now I'm talking like when I was bodybuilding. My muscles I have trained my muscles over time, that they've come to say, oh, okay, Inga, you've stretched this out like this. You've really stretched out this rubber band now. We can't go back to where we were. We've totally been stretched out. So now it's like, okay, so what else you got? So it made me think about, I told you about the bodybuilding thing.
I wanted to bring that in because it's a great connector.
So that was my stretch. So my next thing at that point was I wanted to get my professional engineering license. license. And, when I was working, people were like, well, Inga, you don't need it for work. They don't really care. Well, I'm not doing it for them. I'm doing it for me. Okay.
Yes.
And this is an Inga thing. I could care less what my company is. If they're not going to, oh, Inga, they're not going to pay you. I would hear people say this. You're not going to make any more money because you did that. Well, it's not about the money. This is a personal thing that I want to do for Inga. Okay. And I went through this trial and tribulation. I had to take this exam 3 times. The second time I took it, I got a 69 on it. You need a 70 to pass. Okay. So I cannot tell you how upset I was about missing it by 1 point. Emotion, like crying, boo-boo crying. I mean, like literally just nasty crying upset. Okay.
Were you ugly crying?
Ugly cry. Yes. Very much an ugly cry that turned into like complete determination. Like, y'all gonna do this to me 1 point? And I don't even know why I said y'all, because it was totally up to me, right? It was totally
yes.
up to me. But I was blaming it on them. And I guess I needed that. They say that you either need something that you love that will drive you or something that you hate. Okay. Well, I was really mad at the people that created that PE test. Okay. To the point that I studied like I have never studied before in all of my life. And I can remember when I went in there and took that test and I finished it, I was like, oh, I passed. Y'all don't even have to send me the letter. I know that I did that. It is done in Jesus' name. I know, confidently walking out of there. I had sucked so long. I had taken the action. I sucked all that time and I got the results. And when I got my results, I actually got like a 73 on it. So I went above and beyond the actual minimum of the 70. So that just made me feel so good inside. Another one of those.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you. That boosted my confidence that, oh, I got this. Oh, this is happening.
I want to talk about you talked about confidence is courage. It's a muscle that you build over time. And that's a wonderful analogy for you to use as somebody who has done bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And what it looks like for us to build muscle it's actually not a pretty thing. Not just I have to change my life and do things differently. Mm-hmm. We build muscle by kind of damaging the muscle. That's you're tearing those fibers in that activity, and the build happens when the body repairs itself.
Right.
It's like broken bones are stronger at the broken place.
Right.
Because the lesson has been learned, the sucking has happened. So it's a wonderful analogy. And your story of doing that bodybuilding, you couldn't stay the same.
Right.
Right. You had to make some sacrifices, but you had to change how you were caring for your body, for yourself. Exactly. And I think that's a wonderful lesson when we think about being more confident, mm-hmm. Being authentic, is that it's not going to be all glory, right? The path to it is not lined with well-wishers and cheers and gold. It's going to be kind of crappy for a while.
Yeah, it's going to suck.
And it will suck. And that vulnerability, the willingness to say, I want to be different, the humility that comes with failure, it is the path from the decision that I want to be authentic to becoming confident.
Right.
The story of training for something or trying to achieve a certification, fill in the blank. So many people have that experience.
Oh, yeah.
It can be a great handle to understand, if I want to become more confident, let me look at these lessons from my life.
Right, for sure.
Beautiful.
Got to be vulnerable. I mean, oftentimes we look at stars or, anybody that you admire, like your person, whoever that person may be, and you're just oohing and on. Oh, they're so awesome. Oh, they're so great. But how did they get that way? They went through the suck. And I think so many times people just want to go from where they are right now up to where that person that they are admiring is. But that in between, that little dash, that's what you have to go through. There's no jumping over it or leaping over it. You have to go through that dash to get there. And for whatever reason, people don't want to do this. They don't want to go through that dash.
No. Well, it makes you vulnerable. It's about being real. And that's scary for us.
Yeah, it is.
The lizard brain kicks in, and we don't see the overnight success. We don't see the years and years of work that went into everything that happened before that night,
right? Before
the overnight. So this is the ask, don't assume that you talk about. We assume that person just instantaneously burst onto the scene and they're magnificent. And
Yep.
the sacrifices, the mess ups, the sucking, those get buried under this assumed story.
Yep.
And I think we've made it harder for ourselves in the modern world because we curate our lives now. That you don't see reality in one of the places where we have the most interaction with people, online,
Yep.
social media. We see perfection there.
Yep, we do.
The filters, all the things. And I don't think it's necessarily easier for men, but I do think women have this burden of comparison when it comes to how easy and graceful does my life look.
Yeah, I would totally agree.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, it's kind of going back to that. If you're in an all-male environment, the warrior mindset, obviously the goal is to win, but sometimes warriors may lose a battle.
Right.
So there's a little more, as long as you're not a total loser, I think there's a little more tolerance. Whereas women, we aren't kind to each other when we see weakness, if you will.
And I think that's why it's very important that you surround yourself around positive, growth-minded people. I'll say it that way. Because when you have those vulnerabilities and you're in a positive, growth-minded group of women, and I think they would be like, girl, don't worry about that. I did XYZ and this is what happened. You'll be like, what? Yes. So girl, it's okay. You'll get through it. I mean, they're going to encourage you. They're going to support you through your suck. And I think that's the biggest thing, because the ones that tear you down, or, find out what's going on with you and be like, oh, I can't believe you did XYZ. Those are the ones that are not confident in themselves. They have a very fixed type of mentality, and they want you to stay down with them because they're down. They don't want to see you elevate and dominate. So I think it really comes down to the type of women, really not even just women in general, just the type of people that you're hanging out with. I mean, what do they say? You're the average of the 5 people that you hang out with. So if you're hanging out with negative Nancy and negative Neds, then that's what you're going to end up emulating. And there's no, oh, well, they're not affecting me. They are. Don't even come with that. It's just very subtly they're affecting.
This is an important lesson for us in this conversation, that part of the work of building my own confidence and being authentic is encouraging other people. And it's kind of easy and comforting to talk about women supporting women. To your point, it's not just about the women, it's about those other people in your life. And are you being, in your journey to learn and grow, are you lifting other people with you in that process, or becoming a burden?
And it makes a difference, a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Especially for an introvert that is very, their social battery is not as, I don't know what I would say, active as someone,
it's actually more active, I think.
Yeah, we get drained by more interpersonal type of interaction, where an introvert, they thrive off of that. So it becomes really hard for us to let that go when we're around a negative Nancy like that, because they're literally just sucking the energy out of us when that happens. So I think it's very important that you be cognizant of that, of who you're hanging out with and how they're affecting your energy.
I want to have a little footnote here to make certain you and I know are talking the same language around introversion and extroversion. But there is kind of classically this idea that extroverts love people and introverts don't. And that's not the case. It has to do with sources of energy. What drains you, what fills you. And you've already defined it really clearly, that your battery runs down when you have external stimulation as an introvert, that you need that reflective, quiet time where you control the type, volume, level of external stimulation in order to fill your battery. And then you can go out and be the life of the party, but you'll be tired at the end of it.
You will be.
And extroverts, there are plenty of extroverts in the world where people are not the thing that fills them up, but people are the most common source of external stimulation for us. So it just makes this very natural connection. But extroverts can be stimulated by their environment, by going into nature, by music, whatever that is. So making that very clear distinction that we're not talking about introverts as not wanting to be around people or being
Exactly.
misanthropes. We're saying that you have to manage your energy.
Yeah.
And I would pull this back again to self-knowledge and self-awareness.
For sure. That you're actually taking the time to truly understand yourself. And it's not an either or too, because I mean, you may be
Yes,
somewhere in the middle where you have
exactly.
both traits, which
Yeah.
is great, but is you want to figure that out for yourself to determine how you manage your energy, what you need to do
Yeah.
in certain situations, how you prepare for certain things.
Well, in
That
certain situations too,
exactly.
right? Like hanging out with your group of friends isn't necessarily going to require the level of prepare as going to a conference, for
Exactly. Or going to
example.
a networking event. Yes.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. That can I adjust? And that self-knowledge. And to go back, you talk about innate gifts. I'd like to spend some time talking about that. Like, how do you discover that? How do you leverage? But that's one of the things is what are my innate, not just my innate preferences, but what am I good at? What am I gifted to do?
Right.
And how can that play into managing my energy and being like a positive force for the people
Exactly.
around me as
I
well?
think those type of things become very apparent to you during those quiet times where you're
Yeah.
able to truly ponder over certain things. Oh, I can remember when I'll give you an example. I can remember when I first made my first video. It was very uncomfortable making it. I literally had to force myself to do it. And I remember it was around November timeframe. So where I live, we're very close to the East EST line. So it gets dark about 4:30 in that time frame. So I had decided that I was going to make this video and I was going to do it on my lunch break because that was really the only time that I could do it. So I get in my car, I'm driving, and I was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to this Dollar General because I don't know, for some reason I saw that the sun was like really beaming in a certain area. And being that I didn't have ring lights and all this other stuff going on,
Mm-hmm.
I figured, okay, if I'm kind of in the sun, the natural sunlight, then the sun will be my natural ring light and I'll be able to do this video. So I remember and I was like spazzing over this video. I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm gonna do this. I don't know what I'm gonna say. And that one thing I realized, I didn't like really document what I was gonna say. So I didn't truly prepare for it like I should have. I was
Yeah.
just kind of winging it. So I was just like, okay, I'm looking at my watch. Okay, I gotta do this. If I don't do it, I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna be mad at myself if I don't. So I just started talking and I did it. And it was just like, oh, that sucked. I went through the suck again. And then after I did it a second time, and I was just like, okay, that was a little bit better. Okay, that wasn't as bad. So then I did it a third time. And I remember that before I finished the video, somebody had parked next to me and the door closed and you could hear it. And I was like, oh, that one was good. I got to do it all over again because I didn't know how to edit and all of that. So I did it that fourth time and I finally did it. And I was so ecstatic that I did it. And I could tell that fourth time, I kind of I put a little more of myself in it. I guess I was more confident about actually doing it. And I wasn't really nervous about, oh, I can't believe I'm doing this video. I mean, I was totally relaxed by that fourth time, which made me realize that I never wanted to go back to feeling like I did at the first time. So I had to keep doing it.
Practice.
Again, that practice makes progress. I had to keep doing it. And now I don't have a problem doing it because I'm always doing video. But some people would think, well, introverts can't do video. Yeah, they can. Introverts can get and talk in front of people if they're very passionate about whatever they're talking about. They're going to be able to do it. They're outgoing. They love to talk to people that they know.
Yep.
And that and talk about a topic that they're really passionate about. It's just the cold outreach, trying to figure out how to interact with somebody that they don't know.
Yeah.
That's the part that's the struggle for them.
Oh yeah. I'd rather talk to, an audience of 800 people on a stage than have to sit down with a stranger and try to make small talk.
Right.
Very comfortable doing the talking, the presenting, the what have you, the total stranger where I'm going to have to be myself. Yick. That sucks.
Yeah. For sure.
Talk to me about inner gifts. How do we discover those?
I think inner gifts are just really discovered by you stepping out of your comfort zone. Just completely doing something different than what you normally do. That's when you discover it. I think when you are stuck in doing the mundane and what you always do, I don't think you truly are exposed to the possibilities, I'll say, of what you truly can do. So you have to try different things for you to go, oh, yeah, that's my jam. And I wouldn't have known that was my jam until I actually did it. So yeah, I think that's how you figure it out. I mean, I know that's how I figured it out. I have a LinkedIn newsletter that I just started as a result of one of my mentors recommending it. And I was really surprised how people were attracted to it. I think I got like over 1,000 subscribers in a matter of a week, how quickly people just resonated with it. And from me stepping out and doing that LinkedIn newsletter that goes out to the subscribers bi-weekly, I have gained like writing gigs from that. I would have never thought that I would have been able to do, but it was just me stepping out my comfort zone, doing that became made me more aware that, oh, Inga, you can do this. That would have never been something that I would have said, oh yeah, I like to write. Nah.
Yeah. What I was gonna say is it's kind of was it a dowsing rod when people are trying to, divine where water is? I think you have to go through this internal process of, am I moving towards something that resonates, that creates a positive response
Right.
in me, or am I moving towards something that's soul sucking? And you can come back to, am I skilled at being aware of myself? Do I know myself well enough that I know when it's a good resonance and not a negative resonance?
Right, exactly.
I think there is a place for us here to talk about inner critics as well.
Okay.
Because am I listening to the confident, authentic, humble, vulnerable voice, or am I listening to the critical voice that's telling me I'm not worthy? How do we navigate that push me, pull you that can happen as we're trying to gain confidence and be more authentic?
I think you have to listen to what the voice is saying and how loud the voice is. In my experience, the negative Nancy voice is really loud.
Yeah.
She's telling me what I can't do. She's telling me you ain't never done that before, so why would you even try, kind of thing. So to me, it's very negative. The quiet, calm voice is talking to me as well, but it's very quiet and calm, and there's a peace about it that I feel that, people say you got to go with your gut. It's one of those things that you're going with your gut. And to me, your gut is the Holy Spirit that's guiding you and telling you this is what you need to do next. Similar to what I was talking about when I was telling you guys about the think time. Yeah. That I've had times, my coach has said this, Inga, you know what to do. You just, you talk to me and you say, oh, I was thinking about doing this, this, and this, and this. And I go, and then she'll say, yeah, you go, why don't you just do that? And that was when I really understood I didn't need to have somebody to affirm that what I was doing was right. Yeah. And I think that's what's really cool about being an entrepreneur, that you're guiding the path. It's your vision that you are cultivating. It's not somebody else's finished life, because when you're working for somebody else, they're telling you what the vision is. But as an entrepreneur, you are the one cultivating the vision. And as a result of that, it's very important for you to take the action, because if you don't have the vision, we all know that the people perish. So when you have the vision, take the action, go through the suck, get the results, and continue to build that confidence muscle, because you're going to be the better for it as the things that you go through get a little bit bigger and are more complicated and are more challenging to you, that you'll be able to say, well, like for me, I did the bodybuilding thing, and as a result of me doing the bodybuilding thing, I've done the PE thing. I had to do the work for that, and I did that too. So now when it comes down to me working to make, grow my business to a 6-figure level, then I know I'll be able to do that too. But I know I'm going to have to put the work in to make it happen.
In my experience, the inner critic is not only the loudest voice, it's also the most boring voice, because it tends to tell me the same thing. Over and over.
That you're like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Can you give me a sign?
It's just a loud screaming, well, you're worthless, you can't do this. Where the voice of love, the Holy Spirit or your inner self, however you want to talk about it, not only is it softer, but it sounds like the people that care about you.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the things that I'll do when I'm coaching folks sometimes is say, I know you know this, and I want you to have another voice.
Mm,
I want you to hear someone telling you, you know this, you're capable of it.
that's right.
These are the steps.
Right. I love it.
Yeah. And I would take that back to then, who are the people that you're around?
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
And are
That has a
you,
lot to do with it.
it
Yep.
does, because that's going to fill you with, these are the voices of the people that care about me.
Yep.
I can hear it in my spouse's voice. I can hear it, that message of you're making the right choice, you're doing the right thing,
Right.
in the voice of a best friend or a coach,
Exactly.
parent, a caregiver,
Yep.
a literal caregiver. Yeah.
I like it.
Can we spend some time talking about humility?
Yeah, I think the humility comes in the suck. I think we had briefly just discussed that when we were talking about the vulnerability. That's where the humility comes into, because it just humbles you. We have some people have this thought that, they can conquer all. But when you're going through the journey, I'll say, you really truly can see if you're willing to conquer all and be able to do that. So it just makes me think about Peter when he was walking with Jesus and he was telling him how, oh, Jesus, I got your back, and nothing's gonna happen,
I would never deny you.
Yeah, anything goes down, Jesus, I got you. And Jesus told him, man, you gonna deny me 3 times before all this is over with.
Mm-hmm.
And for him during that time, he was just like, when it happened, I'm sure it was just like, he told me this, he told me, and I thought it was going to be this way, because some of us have this thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to endure, I'm going to be able to do this, and then you're just like, wow, but I did. That's when you're humble. That's what really humbles you and makes you vulnerable, and thinking, okay, you didn't do it, but is that going to stop you from trying? No, that's not going to stop you from trying. You failed. We just talked about that. You just fail faster. Keep failing until you find your promised land, or your promised method, or your promised strategy. And after you find it, then share it, so the next person won't have to go through the trials and tribulations that you had to go through to figure it out. I think that's what it really comes down to.
I love Peter. For people that may not know the Bible, the Christian Bible, he was one of the disciples of Jesus, and literally, God love him, he was so bold and so flawed as well, constantly declaring his belief, his love, his commitment to Jesus and his ministry, and then immediately making a huge mistake. I think for Christians or people, with any type of faith practice or spiritual practice, it's a great lesson that you can be really, 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 really human and still have a great impact.
Yeah.
In the Christian tradition, he's considered the very first pope. Peter, Petra, on this rock I will build my church. Some of the thoughts there, and yeah, but he would go all in and then totally suck. And if one of the people closest to the truth,
the fire, exactly.
Yeah, if somebody who is closest to the truth messes up, well, then it's okay that I mess up as well. Yep. In my journey to get to the truth. It's a wonderful story for Christians, but also just this wonderful model for people trying to do the thing in life that they think they're there to do.
Right.
Yeah. And in thinking about authenticity as well, you don't have to try too hard. Yep. Yeah, it's a good call out. Something I think that's really important for us to say when we're talking about humility is that it's not about just accepting or speaking about your weaknesses. You also have to have knowledge of what you're great at.
Oh, yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you're forcing it on people or that you're being arrogant, but humility gives you credibility to be confident because you've done the work of assessing, here's what I suck at, here's when, how, and the extent to which. And through that process, I've learned what I'm actually capable of. It goes back to that, the lesson is the journey. Yep. And the journey is the process of being humbled most of the time. And if you go through that, then you get the reward of confidence. As we're starting to wrap up, is there anything that we've not talked about that you're going to be mad at me if we don't get to?
No, I think we pretty much covered it. We talked about the 5 P's. Mm-hmm. The importance to prepare, to be present, to push out of your comfort zone, to practice, and then get that progress that you want. We talked about how we create confidence. Confidence is not something that you have in the beginning. It's actually what you do in the journey. You have to act. You have to suck. Then you get the results, and then you're confident. And then as you build that confidence, you're able to do bigger and better things that are more challenging to you because you have that reference point. Well, I did it for my bodybuilding, so now I can do it for my PE exam. And now that I did it for my PE exam, I can now do it for my business. So you have that reference point of that muscle constantly getting bigger and bigger, and you're getting these big confidence muscles that you're able to really do the things that you were meant to do so you can be that better version of yourself. And all of this comes about, and which is very important for us to do on a regular basis, which I have decided to do on a daily basis, is to have that quiet time. To really be able to kind of think through what you need to do, because you have the answers. I'm sure you guys have heard that before. I used to hear that and I'd be like, yeah, how do I have the answers already in me to do what I need to do? Really? Well, that's how you really hone into the answer, because you're taking the time to truly think about what you're working to do so you can get your promised land, whatever that is. And then after you figured that out, then I feel like it's your duty to help someone else along the way that may be in the same path, that may be behind you, that you can help pull up faster, because you have found, well, I won't say there's no secret sauce. Let me just say, I'm going to say found the secret sauce, because there's no secret sauce.
It's not.
There's just work. There's just grit and sweat and tears that you got to go through to make it happen. But to lessen the learning curve for the person behind you is, to me, very rewarding, because you feel like you did all of that for yourself, and now you can help somebody else to get there faster. Now, and granted, even though you help them in the process, they're still going to have their suck time too. It probably won't be as long as your suck time. Maybe you cut theirs in half, but they still have suck.
Even if their suck time is twice as long as yours, you are contributing a voice to the chorus that tells them they can do it.
It's possible. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. You're giving them that hope. And hope is your hold on, possibilities exist. And I think we all need that in, just everything that we do, life, business, everything. We got to have that hope. So
agreed. I want to second that time to think, whether it's daily or with some other frequency.
Yeah.
There is a practice called morning pages. I'm going to put something into show notes about. It comes from a woman named Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way.
Okay.
It's an older book. It's been out probably 30 or 40 years at this point. But she outlines a really simple process of starting your day with stream of consciousness writing. 3 pages, handwritten, no specific topic. And the goal is to let your mind, either get rid of the stuff that's blocking you from being creative, or to delve into what are my new ideas, or to just have a commitment to yourself that you're doing this thing on a regular basis. And that time for me is like the think time that you've talked about. When I miss it, I can tell a difference in my mental life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's great. And then just any daily meditation practice, I think, is really important. I'm going to cheat. Something that I want to make certain is a takeaway from today is, it's something that you said when we had our first introductory call last month. I wrote it down because it was beautiful in its simplicity. Inga, you said nobody can do you better.
Oh yeah, nobody can do you better than you. Exactly.
Yeah.
My slogan is "Do you, boo." For sure. Yes. I mean, nobody can. And and oftentimes we feel like we have to be like somebody else to be successful. I know I've felt that, and just building my business and just in life. Oh, I need to be like Susie Q because she has XYZ. I wasn't made that way. So why do I need to be something that I'm not? I need to do me, because nobody can do me better than me. So
yeah. Comparison is the thief of joy.
Oh yeah, it is. It is. If you're going to compare what you did today to yesterday. Were you
100%?
Yeah. Were you 1% better than you were yesterday? Then if you were, then you are successful. That is a win. Yeah. That's what it's all about. It's not about, you hitting 6 figures or whatever your big goal is. Your goal is to be better today than you were yesterday. and tomorrow is better than today. That's
And
what you're going for.
yeah, and if you're not, then recognize and congratulate yourself on being one more day done with the suck.
Yeah, exactly. And then,
Yeah.
I think it comes down to you.
Hmm.
That's your practice. Okay, so that didn't work. So
Yeah.
now I gotta try something else. I did this, that didn't work, so now I'm gonna do this. So yeah.
Excellent. So, ma'am, tell us what all you have going on right now. I want to make certain that we get to give you a bit of a platform for your business and all the amazing work
Yeah,
you're doing.
so right now, like I said, I'm serving introverted entrepreneurs in basically three capacities. I have a DIY course where people can get the ultimate, what I call the perfect icebreaker for an introvert, which is a survey, because surveys allow you to have that think time, find out what the person is needing, and then to see if your product, your service, or your creative idea will help them with that. And if it doesn't, then being able to find somebody that you know in your network that could possibly serve them. So I have that. It's called the Savvy Survey System, and that will help you in your journey as an entrepreneur, because it definitely aligns with my A game. You're able to ask and not assume what people want, then you can assist and not annoy, and then really attract people to you instead of attack. The other offerings I have is in a group or a one-on-one setting where I just help you with your business strategy. I'm all about helping people get leads, because when you're out of leads, you're out of business. And the leads are really the core of what it comes down to getting your business going. So making sure that you have that fluid flow of leads, and then after you have them in that big funnel, and the ones that fall out the bottom, how you're going to nurture them, how are you going to build that relationship with them, how your mindset, having that growth mindset that you may be in your suck period right now, and what are the things that you need to learn how to do to really be able to nurture and grow an authentic relationships with your leads, that they become raving fans. They're like your cheerleader, telling everybody and their mama about you and what you do and how you help them get to their promised land. Having that kind of community, those raving fans that really want to share you with the world. Making sure that you have that system down, and I help you do that as well. But yeah, that's
Wonderful.
really what I do and who I serve. As far as events, I guess at the time that this probably airs, that event will probably have already happened that I'm doing in next week. But I just really want to serve people as much as I can and let them know it's cool to be you. However you were made, that was exactly how you were supposed to be. And that just to find your happy place and take that time to really think about what you think you were meant to do and not be afraid to fail. Really take that time to fail, because that's what's going to really help you figure out what you were meant to do and what you're passionate about and why you're even here and who do
Yeah.
you serve, because we're
Yeah.
all here to serve.
I couldn't agree anymore. You're absolutely right, Inga. And I love it's cool to be you. And you are doing that. Like, you are living what you're teaching. And I feel elevated from our time together. I was energized when we talked the first time. And this conversation has given me so much to think about, to go reflect on, like my little
Awesome.
introverted heart wants to do. But it's just really filled my bucket as well. Thank you so much.